By now, I'm certain you've all heard the news about a kid getting shot in his head for committing the cardinal sin of knocking on the wrong door while trying to pick up his brothers.
Justice for Ralph!
Calls for justice as hundreds of protesters marched in Kansas City, Missouri after the shooting of a black teenager.
When black lives are under attack, what do you do? Stand up, fight back!
Hit by bullets to the left side of the head and his right arm after he went to the wrong home to pick up his younger brothers Thursday evening.
Black Lives Matter!
16-year-old Ralph Yarl rang the doorbell at a residence just before 10 p.m. on 115th Street instead of 115th Terrace and was shot by an elderly white man.
To have black people ring a doorbell and then have a white citizen shoot him in the head first and then shoot him a second time. I mean, there is no way you can justify this. We can only imagine if the roles were reversed.
A neighbor called 911 after Yarl showed up on her doorstep, bleeding but alert. The suspect in the shooting, a man in his 80s, was taken into custody just before midnight, placed on a 24-hour hold, then released less than 2 hours later. Police saying they are working to get a victim statement and additional forensic evidence before making a decision about referring the case for prosecution. Missouri has a stand-your-ground law that allows physical force to defend yourself if there's reasonable belief that unlawful force is imminent.
The information that we have now, it does not say that it's racially motivated. That's still an active investigation. But as a chief of police, I do recognize the racial components of this case. I do recognize and understand the community's concern.
Yarl was hospitalized and released Sunday, according to the Kansas City Star.
My nephew is alive, and he is healing. It is not the story that individual intended for us to tell.
Yarl's family says he's an honor student, a leader in the marching band at his high school, and hopes to attend Texas A&M University to study chemical engineering when he graduates high school. His family attorneys in a statement asked that police prosecute to the full extent of the law the man responsible for this horrendous and unjustifiable shooting. Yarl's father asking for the gunman to be charged in the shooting.
We want charges. That's what we want.
While protesters pray, march, and demand justice, Yarl's family also asks for hope and healing.
We have a lot to be thankful for. That right there is a lot of hate. This right here is a lot of love.
And I only have two things to say about this. Number one, this old bastard's going to jail. No excuses, no justifications, no reasonings could absolutely excuse you shooting someone for knocking on your door. You're going to jail, and Big Tyrone's gonna fondle those old wrinkly ass cheeks and maybe turn your lazy eye straight. The second thing pertains to this picture I see going around of a white woman falling to the same fate of pulling up to the wrong house and getting shot, and people saying, how come we're not protesting this? How come we're not making us think about this? How come this is a racial situation when you have white people doing this to white women? How come we're not protesting to seek justice for this white woman? Well, as the black victim, I'll tell you why. Because we live in a world where Black Lives Matter when it's convenient. You will have black people lose their lives at the hands of black people and it won't get picked up by mainstream. You'll have black people being killed at Sweet 16 parties and it won't get picked up by the mainstream.
Alabama tragedy at a Sweet 16 party. 4 people are dead and more than 24 others are hurt after a shooter opened fire.
Take a look at this map. The shooting happened in the small town of Dadeville, a little more than 30 miles from the Georgia border and southeast of Birmingham. We're now learning the names of the victims who were killed.
Fox 5's Tyler Fingert is live in Dadeville, Alabama with the very latest for us. Tyler, have police made any arrests?
Well, Alex, law enforcement have stayed tight-lipped about a possible suspect. As far as we know, nobody has been arrested. This investigation continues as the community mourns those who were killed.
It was a scene of terror Saturday night when a Sweet 16 party in Dadeville, Alabama went from a celebration into a scene of chaos. 4 people lost their lives, including Antrell Allen's nephew, 18-year-old Phil Dowdell.
This right here is just a hard pill to swallow. Tough swallowing it, but We're going to get through it. We all going to get through it.
Dowdell was one of 4 people killed at the Mahogany Masterpiece Dance Studio. The others are identified as 23-year-old Corbin Holston, 19-year-old Marcia Collins, and 17-year-old Kiki Smith. Investigators haven't released many details about the shooting, but a local pastor says witnesses told him that the shooter fired an entire magazine and then reloaded.
Everyone is hurting because this is such a close-knit community. Everybody knows everybody.
Dowdell was a star football player who was set to play at Jacksonville State University. He was just weeks away from graduating high school. The shooting happened at around 10:30 Saturday night in eastern Alabama at a Sweet 16. Allen says the party was for his niece, Dowdell's sister.
She saw my nephew, her baby, her boy, take his last breath. So, it's hard for her, traumatizing. But like I said earlier, we have a big family. We're all going to be there for her.
This tragedy hits home for many. Allen says he thought of Dowdell more as a brother instead of a nephew. He says he remains in shock, but will always remember Dowdell's smile and heart of gold.
Love your loved ones while you can. Be there for them. Check on one another. Stop rushing through life. Stop, don't hold grudges against people, because you never know whenever that time's going to be.
You can still see some of the bullet holes at the site of this shooting. Dowdell's mom was also injured in this. She has been released from the hospital. At this point, no arrests have been made, but the investigation is continuing tonight. We're live in Dadeville, Alabama. Tyler Fingert, Fox 5 News.
Just so upsetting. Tyler, thanks for the latest from there.
There won't be this mass amount of protest. There won't be all these people saying no justice, no peace. And when it's a white person doing it to a white person, people will just leave that to white people to deal with. It won't be something where we all collectively say, this is wrong, let's seek justice. Excusing the fact that if you look in the article that's being spread with this screenshot of just the headline, you will see the person who shot this woman for pulling up into his driveway unannounced has been charged, just like the bastard who shot this kid for knocking on his door has been charged. The amount of protest that took place in this instance happened because he got arrested and then released, and dumbasses thought he wasn't going to get charged for anything. They didn't allow time to go through because they don't know how the process works for when someone gets arrested in this specific area. That's their fault for not doing any research. The thing that's bothering me is that it's another example of picking and choosing when we want to care about a black life. This is a kid who deserves justice. Don't get me wrong. Don't sit here and confuse me saying all this with me meaning I don't want to see him get justice. He deserves to get shot because he knocked on a door. No, he absolutely deserves justice. He absolutely deserves help with his medical funds because getting shot in the head and fighting for your life is going to run up a hospital bill. What I am saying is that I want everybody to have this same level of care for when it's a black suspect, when it's a Mexican suspect, when it's an Asian suspect, when the suspect is trans, gay, lesbian. It don't matter. None of the genders, none of the sex, none of the skin colors, hair color, none of that matters because it's somebody doing a wrong to an innocent person, like the person I talked about in my last video who stabbed an 11-year-old for calling him an NPC. We demand justice for that. We demand justice in any capacity because it's somebody doing a wrong to someone who didn't deserve it. And I would think in any capacity, we should all care because we're all human beings and we don't want to see that happen to anyone we know or anyone who's just casually walking upon the street that we don't know. When you dance at the beck and call of a white perpetrator, you open yourself up to the biggest criticism for anyone who claims to support Black Lives Mattering, whether if it be the organization or just the movement. Where were you in the black community when the black community is targeting each other? That's the only question I have for anybody who claims to care about Black Lives Mattering. Where are you when black people are hurting black people? That's it. You can call it a political point all you want. You can say, oh, you're spewing a conservative talking point for the white people. No, I'm not. I'm somebody who genuinely wants to see justice and people caught when they're doing something that harms the life of another human being. It don't matter their skin color. What matters is seeking justice. And if you're gonna spew those weird rhetorics at me for saying, how come you don't care about these black lives? Congratulations. You don't care about black lives. You only care about the ones that are convenient. And guess what? I will say it for the second time in this video. I hope this kid gets justice. I hope Big Tyrone fondles this old wrinkly bastard for the rest of his miserable life, because that's what happens when you see a wrong being done. You want justice for the victim and you want punishment for the perpetrator, no matter the skin color, sex, or gender. That's the beauty of being consistent in this world. All I ask for is consistency, but I know I'm not going to get it because I have to live in the cesspool of the online world, only seeing what they want to see and jumping when they want to jump and caring when they want to care. So in the grand scheme of things, a lot of black lives really don't matter. Once again, as I've stated numerous times, only the ones that fall to white people matter. Subscribe to the channel. I'll see y'all in the next one. Fuck BLM.